I would guess that for the majority of players in Gran Turismo, the first thought to come to mind when you saw that a Toyota RAV4 was coming to Gran Turismo probably wasn't, oh, that's the next car I'm going to use for the WTC 700 event. And yet, that's exactly what I attempted to do here. And spoiler alert, I actually won. So the car is a hell of a lot better than most of these soft roaders. It actually sounds a lot better, has some more interesting visual upgrades, although to give fair credit to the other ones, they do have some pretty cool visual upgrades as well, they just have nothing to back it up with. And that of course is what brings us to the saving grace of the Toyota RAV4, as well as a vehicle which we've talked about in the past. In the case of the Mazda equivalent, both that and this are legitimately good little soft roaders. But let's say it as it is. The reason why this and the Mazda are better isn't just because of a particular drivetrain, it's because of what they allow you to do to the car. It's exactly the same problem as many of the Vision GTs, and certainly most, if not all, you could say, of the electric cars. You just can't do enough to them, certainly not enough to make them really a genuine alternative. Some can be. The Tesla, for example. At the 500 point level, the Tesla is genuinely really, really good. The four-wheel drive advantage over the Model S is great as well, but that is one of the outliers. Likewise, in the case of this Toyota, ironically, the other Toyota, the CHR, is garbage, definitely one of the worst. The Honda is such a squandered opportunity given how, well, I would say, decent looking the car is and how pretty cool the visual upgrades are for it as well, and yet you can do virtually nothing with it in comparison to that. This one, for one thing, the CVT simulates gears, and you can work through in effect like a 10-speed gearbox kind of, but you can also put an actual racing gearbox in it, and what a difference that makes. You can also modify the power significantly, not just an ECU chip. It also doesn't perform like a Prius, that kind of just hairdryer effect acceleration when you're just stuck in drive. Simulating those gears makes a big difference to the car in standard form. If you want to see me driving it in standard form, of course you can do that on Thursday's review that I did before when the update first dropped. You can see that standard car, and then here of course you can see this in modified form. What is the standard versus modified comparison? It's actually very similar in fully modified form to the Toyota FJ Cruiser, despite being like 60 years apart to that car. So in standard form, this has 168 horses. The weight is only 20 kilos more than the FJ at 1630, which isn't too crazy, I guess. The point level is, as you would assume, not too high, 372, which is quite a bit higher than the FJ in standard form. That vehicle, of course, yesterday was 305 in comparison, but in fully built form, they're really close. The FJ, of course, had in that form 415 horses tuned. This one is 414, and in terms of weight, that was 1191 kilos. This one is 1206. Again, really close. Then, though, you get to the point level. Once again, just like in standard form, wildly different between the two. Of course, in the case of the FJ, I had it on dirt tyres, so it was barely over 500, but even so, this car on racing hards in comparison is 645 points. So in other words, those are the specs of this one that you can see me driving right here. So in the 700 point event against actual Group 4 cars, AI of course, but still, it actually performs shockingly well. You do need to use the manual gearbox to get the best economy out of it, and pretty much change as soon as you see the revs come on screen as a general rule. If you do so though, you can get a good 6 or 7 laps out of a tank of fuel, and that's again in 414 horsepower form. For any kind of car of this type, CVT or otherwise, but certainly these smaller soft roaders, crossovers, whatever you want to call them, for them to compete at all is, on the one hand, fairly ridiculous, but also a lot of fun. It does remind me more so of the kind of silly, old school goofing about that you could do in Gran Turismo games where you choose a car that really had no business being a certain event and you could still somehow win. You're playing the game because you enjoy it at the end of the day, and not everyone enjoys just having the most realistic version of an otherwise extremely boring traffic car. The kind of car where if you hired one for the day in real life, it would be fine. Recently, for example, I went to buy a new car myself and I hired a Peugeot 2008. It was a perfectly fine experience. I actually didn't like the car very much. It's the kind of car where you hire it to do a job, to go from A to B, and it has just enough things on it to basically keep you comfortable. Bluetooth, electric windows, aircon, and that's about it. You put it into a game and it's the most boring thing you've ever seen. In the case of this one, well, I'm happy to say it's not boring. And the fact that you can turn it into essentially a taxi, like this one here with that roof box, it's not necessary, kind of like the little Suzuki. The van having the option of turning it into a little like food truck is totally unnecessary, but I love the fact that they did it because it shows that some glimmer of that old spark of Gran Turismo is still in there. They're trying to bury it for some reason, but maybe they're kind of allowing themselves to have a bit more fun again, or at the very least seeing that players actually want that. Whatever the reason, the end result is a good one, and that is that we're getting more of it. And incidentally, on price, this does unsurprisingly undercut the FJ, again just to compare compare it to the other Toyota that was added in an off-roader sense. This one's 33 grand. So yeah, I mean, it's the kind of review which you probably weren't expecting. Somehow, this car leaves you with a better taste in your mouth and more enjoyable of an experience than a 3 million credit Nismo. Not to keep going back to that car, but it is kind of a prime example lately. This one just feels kind of like more of a Gran Turismo choice in terms of how they've implemented it than a lot of other cars recently. It's, again, not necessarily going to win over the hearts and minds of everyone, and I wouldn't say it necessarily should, but the fact that there is something to be positive about at this stage in the game, well, that can't really be a bad thing. If you do end up using it, you might find yourself pleasantly surprised. And hey, if this is, again, as with the electric Opel, some kind of sign that maybe Polyphony is getting a bit more of a handle on how to implement CVTs, hybrids, electric vehicles, etc., then I'm more hopeful for the future. To be honest, I don't fully understand enough about game development to know why they would suddenly have so much trouble with cars like hybrids, because Gran Turismo has pretty much always included them. And in fact, as Driff pointed out to me in the members section, there's pretty much always been a CVT car in Gran Turismo from almost day one. The little Honda logo, which had a CVT transmission way back on the PlayStation 1. So I don't get this idea that they don't know how to implement it, because they already have been. But that is a whole iceberg of a conversation which I'm sure people who know a lot more about game development than me could really get into. For now though, that's it for my thoughts on the RAV4. I would definitely love to hear your thoughts on this one. Have you even bothered to try it? Because I bet so many players have just not even bothered because of the past experiences. This one though is definitely the best. The Mazda's decent, but of course still with front wheel drive it limits it. This one, it's got the whole package. The 4-wheel drive as well really does make all of the difference. It's still not the best of things through corners, but the fact that it can even enter the conversation for winning a 700-point event, well, that says it all really. And with that being said, of course, there is only one vehicle left to review, the Mazda Spirit Racing 12R. And for those who are curious, I do already know the specs, and I'm going to tell you what they are tomorrow. For now, that's it for this review. I'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for watching.